do that. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so what have we got? So we've actually only got 3 VODs we can choose from because it's only on the newest patch. So,
Oh, they're all so bad too.
these 3, you reckon?
Yeah, I been a little under the weather, and during the weekday I don't get to play as much, so I'm just so off.
Well, we can have a look at this one. Pretty long game. Victory Royale.
Yeah.
So you said in your thing that like you feel like your weakness is that you're a passive laner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of interesting because like, to be honest, Malzahar doesn't have that many windows to play aggressively. Like just Malz is not inherently a aggressive laner.
Yeah.
So obviously there's probably some stuff you can do, but yeah. Did you mean to take Dark Harvest, by the way?
No, no,
Oh yeah, no, that is
I
definitely
had
not a
the runes.
Malzahar rune page.
No, dude, I mean, I've been really off. In last game, I just forgot my fucking starting items and still won somehow. But yeah, no, that was from playing the A-Earth with my buddies.
Yeah, good. Alright, well, we can have a look at just what happens in general. Okay. They have Oriana support. Wow. My mind is blown every couple seconds. What is this?
Yeah, I remember this now. Yeah, this early start really hurt. You got the first blood here,
Yeah.
and they fucked me up.
Alright. Let's look at a different game. This game is so weird. This game started off so weird.
These other ones aren't gonna probably do the other ones.
This one?
They've just been so bad. Yeah, you can't see the VODs on the prior to the patch.
No, because it's like it says like the replay's
Uh,
expired. So yeah.
yeah, like when I'm able to play like back to back to back,
It's
do
really
a little bit
annoying how
better.
League does this. Like, as far as I know, no other game has this problem. Like, other games that I've played with replays, like StarCraft, like, you can
Yeah,
just load up previous patch replays. It's no problem whatsoever. So, League is... they're a bit behind on the times. Okay, so...
okay, this was this morning's game. This
yeah,
was
this
also
looks...
bad for me.
really?
Probably
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Alright, well, let's see what we can take from it. So, first off, like, when you start the lane, you kind of need to evaluate, like, how the matchup is, because I think if you're in, like, most Malzahar matchups are really difficult, especially pre-6, and that means, like, if you try and get prior, or if you try and get control of the wave and, like, push it in, you should get punished for it, because if the wave is like all the way up here, right? Like it's very easy for Akshan to like trade on you. If it's other champions like Syndra or something like that, they can like harass you a lot. Whereas like you're a bit safer if the wave's on like your side, like right here, and can farm. So like in a matchup like this, I don't think you want to push, but like evening the push is fine. So I'm not sure like what you're thinking about here, but I think yeah, just like matching his push, having it come slightly towards you is good. But I definitely wouldn't push the wave like under his tower. I mean, you shouldn't get to anyway, like because he should be stronger, but just in case.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. I don't know when or which matchups I should or should not be doing it
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay. So I think just like in Malzahar's matchups in general are like pretty awful for most meta mid matchups. I think you pretty much like as Malz, you want to just like try and like AFK, like play really defensive, get as much farm as you can until you get Lost Chapter, and then you can
Yep.
start like pushing over and over. But before
Okay.
that, one match I guess you could push versus a champ like Corki or Veigar. Like those are maybe the only 2 champs that are as weak as you in the early game. But if you're against anything else, like generally you just can't trade pretty much at all. And it's very important on Malzahar that you do like rush Lost Chapter. Like you'll see a
Yep.
lot of Malzahars, go futures market. I'm not saying like you have to take it, but if you feel like you can't consistently get to Lost Chapter on your first base or on your second base, it could be something you pick up as an option. But I like DMAT as well, so yeah. Okay. You should think a little bit like about whether your trading actually does something. Like this is good. This is a good trade right now because it's like, you know, he's fighting in 3 creeps. You know, he's gonna take a lot of extra damage, but when you kind of like match that extra order there, you lose a lot of HP. And the thing is, you doing damage to him, it doesn't matter much because there's pretty much no chance you can ever kill him. But there is actually a chance he can kill you, you know? So like,
Okay.
for a lot of champs, even trades are actually good against you because it gets you closer to dying, but it doesn't really get them closer to dying.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mal, you know,
Especially without ignite, like I still can't even all in him at 6 if we're even here by
yeah,
6.
pretty much. Yeah, like you say in your thing that you feel like you're a passive laner or whatever, but you pretty much have no other option as Mal's. Like, but you can definitely lane better defensively, right? Like right here, the wave is going to push all the way to you. So like you have no, there's nothing that forces you to do this. You can literally like wait here for the wave to come in, right? But because you're like still trying to contest this wave, you end up losing like almost, what, like an extra 30% HP for just walking up like that. And it's really bad because the things that are going to stop you from hitting Lost Chapter early is going to be like getting forced out of lane. You know, like Mal's has a lot of mana sustain, so it's pretty unlikely that you get like shoved out. But if you look here, it's like, you know, it's going to be real hard for you to get a favorable base because you're already like half HP. The wave's like pushing out. So
You got more mana, yeah.
yeah, it's just like, it's just going to be hard
Yeah,
for you
this
to
is
get the
rough.
base you actually want. So you need to be... Malzahar is very much about defensive laning. Like, even though the champ is easy in terms of, like, the champ's mechanics, right? Malzahar is actually quite difficult, in my opinion, in terms of, like, managing your weak early game.
Okay.
This...
Is my mic picking up like my AC?
No.
Do you hear
No,
wind?
I don't hear
Okay.
it. Okay, so like I think right here is like another example. So like this wave, it's gonna push to you. So if you just last hit these, like it's definitely gonna come to you, right? And you're gonna be able to farm it because there's like more creeps on his side than yours. But if you use your abilities here, like one, it uses a bunch of mana, and two, it evens it out so that it should push back towards him if he didn't like spam auto it. So there's no real reason to do that. You know, you want to be like only forced to use your cooldowns and stuff when you absolutely need it as a defensive laner, because again, it's like, you know, what does killing these 3 creeps earlier do for you? It's like, it's not like you can push this in, and it's not like you're gonna miss the creeps either. So it's pretty much just a waste of mana and cooldowns, and if he's playing really well, he could probably go really aggressively on you here while you have no E. So be very mindful of that. There's like a lot of defensive laning kind of things you're going to need to work on to make Malzahar work, especially if you get into higher ranks, because, you know, like, Malzahar is one of the most abusable early game champs, but then after first base, he's actually quite hard to abuse. But that pre-6,
Yep.
it's like, you know, you are just so weak.
So in summary, I should just basically lane as minimal as possible when it comes to like damaging the creeps and play as passive as possible and defensive as possible.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not... like, I don't know if passive... Yeah, maybe passive is the right word. Basically, you just want to... You don't want to, like... Okay, so there's a difference between, like, playing passively as in sitting under your tower and not getting, like, any CS, right? Like, that would be way too much. So what you basically want is you want to be able to get, like, as many creeps as possible while taking as little damage as possible. That's basically what you want as Malzahar. So you... Like, damage on your opponent is pretty much useless. You know, priority early game is pretty much useless for you because it's not like you can roam. You know, you don't really provide anything to an early game 2v2. So, I don't know. You can say laning passive or whatever, but I really don't want you to think that that means just, like, AFK the lane. It should really be that you get as many creeps as possible, but you don't want to take... Or, yeah, you just want to take, like, as little damage. Because you really want to get that Lost Chapter, like, 400 gold away, as soon as possible. Without like really falling behind for it. And actually, like, your opponent hasn't really punished you, right? Like you're actually up CS on him. But I think like he had a lot of windows to punish you.
Definitely.
Here's like another example, by the way. Like this is going to push into you. if you just last hit these, like literally with your auto attacks, like this is fine. But the problem is, if you use your E and W, like now this actually becomes more difficult for you, because if this wave pushes into you and you can farm it here, like that's completely fine, right? But you know, if you have to play this far up in the lane, this guy should E on you. Like, he can kill you, to be honest. Is he going to? Because I think like where the wave is now, you can definitely die.
Yeah, I get ganked here.
Okay, this is kind of a separate thing, sort of. So if you look at your vision right now, oh wait, that's
Yep. I
like
should be
you're
leaning into
yeah, you
that.
should be leaning towards bot side. So like if you're gonna hug somewhere, like hug here. But it's again, it's the same sort of thing. Like once again, this wave is going to push to you. There's no, you're not in any rush to like walk up to this. It doesn't mean like literally stand right here, but you don't have to be like in the middle of the lane. You can be like standing right here and you're all good.
What's the distance like for you can get EXP? I know there's a marker you can turn on, but
I'm
there's a
not
simple rule of
too
thumb.
sure. No, not really. Like you still want to try get the CS. Like I wouldn't just like give it up, right? But it's like if you actually look at these creeps here, like neither of these creeps, like ignore the gank. Neither of those creeps are actually taking damage at any like rate, right? Like these are dying really slowly. So it's like, you know, you could have waited longer and then like walked up and queued them if you couldn't get in range to like actually last hit them. So yeah, again, it's like you got to be really aware of like the wave pushing to you, because if the wave's ever pushing to you, that should mean it's going to be free farm basically. And this is a really bad death, obviously, because you're 300 gold from Lost Chapter, so you can't get it on this base. And if you don't get it on your first base, but you don't need to TP, like that's
Yeah.
not too bad, because then it's like, you know, say if you just like walk to lane, you got your 300 gold, then you base and TP back, like that's okay. But the problem is that like you probably need to TP to lane, yeah, and it's like now this Lost Chapter is going to be very, very delayed. So in terms of like Malzahar's early game objective, you know, other champs will have stuff like they might want to base on Serrated Dirk, or they might want to like trade really aggressively pre-6 or something like that. Malzahar literally is not a champ pre-Lost Chapter, and then is like one of the best champs at Lost Chapter, you know? So it's like very much just a switch flipped for him. So if the later you get that, it's going to be like really, really bad for you, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that really set the tone.
yeah, exactly. It's like if you know, if you don't get Lost Chapter here, like okay, you could probably have it by now, right? Like if you played better. But if you don't have it by now, let's see how long it is. I'm actually just gonna skip forward until you get it. So like you could have had it at like, let's say 540. So you get it again when you die, like almost a full minute and a half later. So that's like really, it's like a long time period, right? Of not having pressure. But anyway, spoilers, let's see how it goes. Okay, so after you push a wave like this, especially on your first wave back on the map, it's normally the scariest time is the first wave, because if you look at the map, like right now you have no control, right? Like no bot vision, no top vision. So after you push this wave, you should always use this like first wave to try and like regain some control for yourself. So right now, you have a pink ward and you have a yellow ward. So rather than like walking up and hitting this tower, it would be much better if you like looked and warded. Like see how you couldn't really like, this didn't convert into anything. And actually what you're doing now is very, very risky. Like you're pushed up really far in the lane with no flash and no vision or knowledge of where Kindred is. So like if Kindred's here, you're dead, right? There's nothing you can do basically. So yeah, I think you should really look to use your first window of prior to get vision, but also in general, it's like pushing up to the enemy's tower with no vision of either side and no flash, it's extremely greedy. And I think like even you would realize that if you kind of like stop to think about it, right? So yeah, it's very, very risky.
And it was punished. The greed was punished.
Like if you have a bunch of vision here, this is fine, or in fact even good. But yeah, it's like you've had actually several waves that you could have died on. You've seen Kindred bot side, so at least you know that.
Then I see Akshan bots.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I gotta kind of
let's
do
actually
something
see.
off of this. So I don't have Lost
Yeah.
Chapter here. So I
Oh,
was
you
like, in my
do.
mind, I'm like, get Lost Chapter. Then
Oh,
I see
right, right,
Akshan
yeah.
bot, and I'm like, okay, I gotta do something in response to this.
Yeah, no, I actually think you made the right decision. Like, he shows bot, you kind of get a tower play as a result. You have a minion demat for this. I think,
Yep.
yeah,
And then I
like, this
stayed
all
too
looks
long.
good.
So this is where the greed kicked in, and I get punished. There it is.
Hmm. Yeah, I think again, it's like if if you have a ward down here, this is completely fine. Because if you see these guys, like
Yep.
now, you can just like start leaving, and this wave will push itself in. But
Yep.
yeah, it's like you have almost two wards up, and you bought a pink, but you never placed it. I also wonder if you could have just left topside. Like, okay, so when you see Akshan, if you had just walked this way, you might have been able to get out. The reason is that like, okay,
Oh, I
in
see.
low
I see.
elo, maybe they wouldn't, but like in theory, they shouldn't know where Hecarim is. So like they should be kind of scared to chase you up here, right? But I mean, I think they're just gonna fucking chase you.
This Elo, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
No way.
yeah. So you're probably
But I
dead
get you
no
saying.
matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, at least we have the last chapters, so we're ready to PogChamp now.
And
Hold
I was
on.
kind of confused about that, why he didn't commit, but
I think here, like, if unless you're in a rush to ult someone, you should always like drop your EW on someone before you ult them because it's a lot of
yep.
extra damage. Because I think the R it like actually refreshes your E or something like that. I actually
Yeah,
can't
it does.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
I always
Yeah.
forget that. But like it's a you can probably kill this guy if you actually
I
use
did
your
put the E on him, right?
well you no I don't think so. You have it up. Like yeah, you haven't used
Wow.
a
That
cooldown.
was a
You haven't used a
mistake then.
W. Yeah, so if like you use both of those and then ult, you probably kill him. Like or maybe I don't know. Well, he would be
I
a lot
usually
lower
try
either
an
way.
EWR. Like, that's definitely a misplay.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like I don't think there's that guy's going anywhere anytime soon. But honestly, it's fine. Like you get Hecarim out, that guy gets chunked, so it's all good. Shove this wave in. Okay, like this ward, this ward is only it's like good if you feel like you can't control this bush. But like right now, I think you definitely can. Like you get a lot of priority over mid. You shove really fast, so I think this would be a more valuable board if you placed it here. And you have time, right? Like you're not really in any rush, and then you could probably
The
yellow
fact
ward.
that I just seen Oxon and
Yeah, and Kindred.
Kindred, like the top side, should I have ordered the left side of the river just because I'm
Um,
pushed out now?
no, I
Or they
think
probably took their back timer. Okay.
this is good, I think. Like, yeah. No, it doesn't matter too much. I'd say it's probably better toward this side just because like Hecarim's going to be playing on this side soon, but I don't think it's a huge deal. Another thing though is that you have two wards stacked up, so as you know, there's only stacks up to two, and after that, it doesn't generate any more charges, so the kind of cooldown refresh rate or whatever, it just like goes to waste if you ever have two wards, so you pretty
Yep.
much never want that to happen, and especially now, well, and before, because you were getting a lot of priority before, but especially now, like where you clear waves really fast, there should be no excuse for you not placing wards. We've seen Kindred top, and you still haven't like warded. Like if you want to just hit this, which I think is fine, you should at least like ward over this wall or ward here, or like drop a ward here. Just like use your wards for something because Malzahar can't really bring any pressure to the game early except through wards, right? Like there's almost nothing else that Malzahar can do other than like ult people and ward for his team. But wards can actually provide like a ton of extra information, right? So it's like, especially when you're playing a champion that has no other way of generating pressure, like it's really important that you do drop some wards because otherwise you're going to be pretty much a non-factor for the entire early game.
Right.
This is good. I think you're pretty strong. Like, yeah, now you can just like spam push in waves. Yeah, that guy doesn't even like raid on you that hard now. So that's pretty whatever. Yeah, this is really good. Okay, you shove mid. Akshan's gonna lose that wave if he fights this.
Yeah, and I, kind of was indecisive here. I'm like, all right,
Yeah, the way to walk. I think this is good.
but I get punished for this roam. I'm like, all right, I should back. But then the wave's resetting, and I'm like, okay, I've used my turn in my head, so now I gotta go back to mid. I blew it.
Hmm.
so you can see I was very
Yeah,
indecisive.
yeah. I think like probably at the moment it's looking good, and then I think right here you should know to already go back to mid. Like the play looks over, but like you
I thought
still.
maybe Akshan was going to come out of vision for
Mm,
whatever reason, even though it would have been suicide for him. But
okay,
I,
yeah, that's sort of fair. Actually, that's sort of fair. But like right here, you could either walk back to mid still, or you could base. Like you still have options. Even
yeah, I mean,
now,
just tremendous, tons of mistakes here.
yeah, I probably wouldn't waste time killing the wards, to be honest. I would let your team do that. I guess you can kill the pink ward, but yeah, and then obviously walking back to mid that way is very greedy.
Yep, yep, yep. Lots of compounding mistakes.
Well, he's gonna die for that, right? Oh no, he
Yeah.
gets out.
Oh no, he does. Yeah, he's gone.
Okay, yeah, that's obviously really bad. I think.
Which this game, this is why I feel bad about these videos, because normally in my early game I'm extremely conservative, um, and I try not to die, and I just think about the macro.
Mm.
And usually I'm not very mechanical. You know, I'm 30 years old. I'm out of my prime, obviously. I try and win through items and just CS. That's like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
only thing. So this is poor reflection of my normal gameplay.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so you die, but you have like quite a bit of items now. You have these two. Come, shove this. It's good. Wow, he ulted and you instantly cancel it. That's great. This is another sort of useless ward, by the way. Like this, just in general, warding the line bush, unless you have to ward this bush, you shouldn't, pretty much. Because like you're always gonna get better value out of warding somewhere else. So the only time you ever really wards this line bush is if you're like scared that someone's like literally in here while you're face checking it or something, you know? Like you should only ward this when you feel like you're forced into warding it. I think also here, like, if you wanted to, like generally hitting the tower is a waste of time unless you're getting plates, right? So like right here, looking at it, like the plates already died, and so it's kind of a waste of time, I think, to keep hitting this. I would probably be like having a look at like joining this team fight, because if you look at it here, like again, Malz is not a champ that's really like built for 1v1 or like anything like that. And I think if you're with your team here, you'd probably just like hard win this fight. Yeah, like look how long it took you to get here. Like I think if you're, instead of pushing after this, if you literally just come stand with your team, I think you probably kill them all here. But because you're just like, pushing a mid tower, if you're a champ like Tristana, for example, that could be quite good. But like that's not really how Malz wins games, I don't think. So yeah, that was kind of
That makes
a
sense.
waste
Yeah,
of time.
bad.
It's not awful, I guess, because you do get gold, but like you really need to play a bit more with your team. You're just more of a, not even a supportive champ, but more like a facilitator rather than just like someone that makes plays on their own. This is actually a good ward. Like that's the first good ward you've placed the entire game at 13 minutes, but that is a good ward.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to be brutal about it, but we
No,
gotta.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Okay, this is really good. Like you are really ahead in CS. Like you said, you've played for CS in the waves, but I think like you definitely could have had this, but also had a lot more pressure and like had a lot more wards and not have your deaths. So like all that stuff adds up, right? Because like imagine in this situation, instead of being 0-3, you're like 1-0 from this fight and you haven't died, and your wards have like completely changed the early game. Like you're in such a different spot, because even now, like I would say you're winning. Like you guys are down 1k gold, but you've got like Hecarim, Malzahar, Aurelia. It's like pretty strong scaling topside, and they've got like very early game. Like they've got Akshan, Lucian. I guess they have Lucian Nami, so maybe it's not quite as much. But either way, it's like, yeah, okay. Maybe it's not like guaranteed that you're winning, but like you're in a really good spot still, right? Like you're definitely not hard losing with a comp. Like Malz Hecarim should definitely lose early game. That's a pretty weak comp in the early game. Okay. Good old. See, I liked what you did here because... actually, you could probably E him first. Let's just see. Actually, no. I like that you ulted first because he's probably going to jump away as soon as he sees Hecarim. So, like, compared to this situation where this guy couldn't get out, here he would probably... I guess you don't know that he doesn't have flash, but he would probably try run. So I actually like that you ulted him immediately. Also, well, there's nothing you can do about that, but Hecarim should have pushed him the other way, but oh well. That's really good. Sounds really low. I don't think that guy does any damage to you. Okay.
That's probably a bad back.
2k gold. Yeah, I think you can collect this wave. Yeah, just because this guy's like completely Like, yeah, you should be able to collect this wave and then base TP probably. So you do lose. I guess you lose 3 creeps.
Which is surprising because I'm normally extremely greedy about CS.
Well, to be honest, losing 3 creeps is not too bad. Wait, this guy went Moby boots Akshan. What the fuck? I've never seen that.
Yeah, and he was a one-trick Akshan too. That was the interesting part.
Yeah, one tricks there. Sometimes they do just build like actually insane items. I don't know why. They get like so lost in the source, they just buy whatever they want. Damn. I think that guy looks dead. Yeah, I mean, you're so much better than Akshan now, like, you've mega outscaled him. Yeah, like, these are really good wards, by the way. Like, it's interesting that you do this now, but didn't do it earlier in the game, because there's plenty of times where you, like, stood here and, like, could have warded here or whatever. So yeah, that's really
Yeah, this was like a 6:30 a.m. game, and Hecarim was flaming me, and I didn't have my chat muted like a dummy.
Oh, yeah.
So
always
my early game
chat.
mentally flustered. But now it's starting to look more like my normal gameplay a little bit.
Okay. This is all good.
I decided to get aggressive here because I could see.
Yeah, you had a rally with you anyway, so nice. Yeah, like here, I actually think you should just keep pushing. Yeah, okay, nice. Okay, that guy comes. Yeah, I like what you're doing here. This is all good. You base because Drag died and you got Rylized, so that's all really good as well. Push this. Now here, I would actually probably... you have options here. I think after you push this mid-wave, you should look to do something like either farm these raptors, you know, farm the enemy raptors. Just like try and start accelerating yourself a bit more. Like, obviously getting every mid-wave is still really good, right? Like, look how far ahead you are of Akshan. But I think at this point in the game where you farm camps super quickly, you could actually look to do a little bit more. That's a decent...
What's the, what do you feel... This is the issue I kind of run in. It's like I have camps available to me, and I'm like sensitive of my jungler and their farm. Like, should I just greet him and take him?
I think it depends like where your jungler is. You know, like if your Hecarim after this ran to Raptors and you also ran to Raptors, like I wouldn't take it in front of him, right? But if your Hecarim is like going to a different place on the map, I think you can definitely take them. And like, just in general, Malzahar is going to use gold better than just about any jungler. Like, you know... I guess...
Alright, I gotta use that with my buddies when I steal their wolves.
It's like, unless they're playing like Kindred or Graves, I think... And even then, there's an argument to be made that Malzahar does more with the gold. But no, I think if you had like a really hard carry jungle, like, yeah, again, Kindred, Graves, Evelyn, I suppose I wouldn't take their camps really, but if you just have like... You know, Hecarim is like a... He's not a full carry, he's like a bruiser tank sort of champ. And I think, like, you do so much fucking damage with gold. So, I would probably look to take at least one of these camps. And, like, you can look to take the enemy's camp too, right? Like, is this up?
Yeah. Yeah, I usually do snag chickens. When I can.
Yeah, like, I think you could have taken this a long time ago. Like, if we look... I remember you actually saw... Yeah, okay, so you saw Kindred bot, which means that her top side should be free at the moment. So instead of running down here, I actually think you probably run to these raptors, and then you take those, and then you come back and do another mid wave. But yeah, like all through this time, if you actually look at like what you used your priority for, like these wards, admittedly, they're decent, right? I actually think they're decent wards, but it's like when you have this much control over mid, like look at this. Their tower's dead. They're like forced all the way up to here. Like you can get so much more than just this. Like you could, if you wanted to ward bot side, it's like you could pink here, ward over the wolves. You know, if you wanted to ward top side, it could be like, you know, pink here, ward here. Like it could be really aggressive wards. Like these are great wards if the enemy mid tower is still up, because that's like, you know, are you really gonna walk here with the enemy mid tower up? Like probably not. It's pretty scary. But like now you have so much control. You can get way more than this.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's interesting that you look at wards in that way. I like that.
Yeah, like that's why mid tower is so important. Like mid tier 1 is probably the most important objective in the entire game, like other than killing the Nexus, because it opens up the entire map. Like before mid tower dies, you can't really go beyond these points very easily. But once mid tower dies, like you have complete control of both the enemy jungles, which makes it really hard for them to keep side towers up, and it also makes it super hard for them to contest like Drag and Herald. So like mid tower is so valuable, and when you get it down, you should look to like mega exploit that. Okay. Get a love for it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean that's really good. Okay. You would have done so much damage in this fight. I wish you could see like damage graphs in replays. You know, like they have in like competitive games, where they show how much damage you did in the team fight. Sometimes I want to see like just how much damage someone did. This game looks pretty over, honestly. I think you've just won. Like I don't know how to lose from this point. Okay, so now actually, I guess we'll bring this up. So, like after you make a play like this, you guys have all kind of like spent your resources and you have a lot of gold, right? Like if I press X right now, you have 1k gold, your jungler is 2.4, top laner 1.8, and your support 1, your AD 1, right? So right now, how much gold is this? This is like 3.4, and then like another 2, so we'll call it like 5. You have like 6k gold, maybe even 7k gold in the bank as a team, right? And if you look at your gold lead, you're only up 5k. So your entire gold lead is in your inventory right now. It's like not spent. So after you make a big play like this and you use all your inventory, you want to base like as soon as possible. You don't want to be like looking to overstay like this.
And not even worry about like stealing their jungle camps on the way
out. If you can steal camps on the way out, it's good, right? But like here, there's like no camps for you to farm. Like Hecarim's already got it. There's no bot camps. There's no top camps.
Okay.
So you like this is the scariest time to try make a play. Like, dude, clicking back into them right now, it's so scary because like if you fight right now, you're at your weakest point, but they've just spent like pretty much all their gold. Like if you're gonna lose a fight, it's like right now is like the only time you can lose pretty much before you spend all your gold. Obviously, you can't force your teammates to base, but if you like backpinged a couple times and then started your recall, yeah, like look at this shit. This is super.
This is gold. Yeah, dude. I only stayed because they were starting to linger here, but I do get out.
Yeah, because I think, okay, if like, you know, even if your team doesn't base, because obviously you can't force them to base, right? If you just come back here and you base TP, like suddenly at least you're on the map with like full HP, full mana, and an extra 1k gold spent. You know, like maybe you can impact this fight. But it's like, if we look at how it starts, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not just your fault, right? Like Aurelia is 1 HP before it starts. You're like 60% HP. As long as you don't die. But yeah, like, you guys see how you lost there, right? It was pretty
really
bad. And I think also, if you... Yeah, like, you can't rely on your teammates to make good decisions, but I do think if you had, like, spammed back ping here and based, that your team probably would have backed off as well. Like, I agree that you can't, like, literally force them to do stuff, but people generally do listen to pings. Like, not all the time, right? But they are affected by it. So, I think if you dropped some back pings, it would have made a difference. New base. They're going to try Baron, but I think this is contestable. Oh, yeah. MF is going to have a field day. I can tell. Holy...
This is a bit awkward. I think I played this poorly.
Okay.
This was kind of one of those high pressure moments, and
Yeah.
I failed. I was like, all right, just get some dots off and come back. I do get some kills
You know,
off the
I actually think you
dots.
played it well because it's like, okay, the other way you could play it if you really cared about your flash is you could like play on your range a bit more and just spam Qs. But if you look at it here, like trading your flash for like for them getting completely off Baron, that's super worth it, right? Like I actually think
Yeah.
you played it pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Kindred ult really hurt. I think I could have smoked him if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. We get 2 kills anyway. Oh, 3 kills looks like. Where's this guy going? There's no
Oh, yeah.
portal there. So yeah, I actually think you played it pretty well. And then after that, you guys probably should have Baroned. Actually, you definitely should have Baroned. I guess, why are you coming here? You think you can end, maybe? So I think this is a free Baron right now. But I guess you guys think you can end. Oh yeah, and then you just get here and can't do anything. So yeah, that would have been a free Baron, obviously. This drag should be free as well. Taking these wolves is really good. Oh, someone came here. Did you get it? No, he got it. That's unfortunate.
And I realized that you can't use the other
Yeah,
portal there.
yeah. Okay, this is very spooky, by the way. So, like, when you're contesting
I should
Dragon,
be dead here.
yeah,
It seems.
if you guys weren't so ahead, they would probably fight you here. But like, okay, taking the Scuttle Crab is actually good, I think. But like, walking this way is very greedy. Like, when you play a Dragon fight, you really want to be grouped with your entire team, right? So I can understand you want to walk through in here and like regroup with your team. But ideally, it's like you take the Scuttle and then you walk around and then you just get grouped with your team again. Like walking this way, I think they probably don't
I
go on
was
you because they're
confused.
scared of everyone. Like, no one's showing, right? Like, if you look at their
Yeah.
vision, they don't see anyone. So, like, yeah, there it is possible that, like, MF Hecarim is right here and they die. But definitely, if they were more fed, I think they would have gone for it anyway. So,
Yeah,
it
I
was
thought
pretty
I was like,
risky.
all right, I die here. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
For a more, like, conceptual thing, I think you need to think, like, where your teammates are. Like, if you actually look at this, just, like, in a freeze frame, like, your entire team is basically off the map, and you're still playing quite aggressively in the river. So if you are going for this, you need to be, like, very careful, you know? Like, you need to be playing it very safe, like, down here, you know, trying to last hit the scuttle from, like, max range or stuff like that. Like, just pathing extremely aggressively when your team is all, like, off the map, essentially. It's, more often than not gonna work out sort of poorly. This is good. He bought QSS.
Yeah.
That guy has like actually no damage whatsoever. He has like one item, and then Moby Boots, QSS.
Yeah. I think this was a rat break.
I'm not a huge fan of walking, of actually doing this anyway though, because I think like right here, I think right now, at this point, you just walk in group with your team again. Because it's like, is Akshan really an important member of their team? Like, not really. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have noticed that he had QSS because I would not be expecting that. But if you look at their team, Akshan's actually probably the lowest priority target for your ult anyway. Like, Lucian is way more fed, Kindred's way more fed. If you could kill Vlad before he uses cooldowns, it would be really big. So if you come here and use your ult, it makes
In my
contesting
mind,
this
I
like
was
sort
just
of
looking for
possible.
like a pick to just try and change the numbers.
Yeah,
Like,
but I
okay, we
think
have a
like
pick. I
you
got
win,
Aurelia, Folio.
like you win a 5v5, right? So
Okay.
you don't need to really. I guess if the pick is free, it's good. But if you actually just like look at this at the moment, you guys are pretty split as a team. You know, you got 3 here and you've got 2 here. Especially now, like okay, if you ult this guy and you just like chunked him out, like maybe that's fine, right? But now you should definitely walk to drag. Like you spend a long time like
So
up here.
yeah, I was thinking, all right, Hack can easily solo this drag. We have vision on them. Do I need to waste my time down there with the drag as well? That's how I was kind of thinking at the time.
Well, I think like if you are thinking that, there's like better things to do with your time anyway. It's like, you know, if that is what you're thinking and like Hecarim can solo this and you're like not worried about like Kindred stealing it or anything, then you should be looking like, okay, I can take like, you know, Raptors, Krugs, like push in this top wave, but just like running it down mid as a team, like what does this do? The inhib's already dead. Like this wave is pretty much irrelevant. So Like, I can somewhat agree that maybe there are better things to do than just, like, grouping for the drag, but you didn't do them anyway, right? Like, there was a lot of gold up here that you could have taken instead, or, like, yeah, you could have taken this blue instead, so there was, like, a lot of different stuff you could have done. If they steal drag, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Like, they all die for it, so... You guys come top. Okay, now when Hecarim's basing, you should base as well, which you do, so that's so good. Yeah, that was really good. Your entire team based together. It's really nice. In general, by the way, going... I think going demonic is... Actually, no, it's probably good. I was going to say, like, maybe versus 5 squishies, it's not the best, but I actually think the extra HP versus, like, Vlad, Akshan is pretty valuable, so...
I do make that consideration. I say, should I get a Zanias or the demonic? Usually I get the demonic if they're heavier tank or we have a really good lead. If they have a ton of assassination damage, then I'll lean into the Zanias.
Okay.
Is that correct thinking?
Yeah, I think for the most part. I think sometimes you could get away with, like, just Rabadon's third item if you wanted, like, pure damage.
I do never do that.
Yeah. But I think, like, this is pretty good, right? Like, it's... Demonic's really good on this champ. And I think, like, that you actually do make use out of the extra HP against, like, a lot of these champs. Oh, that...
I know.
Yeah, that was so unfortunate.
As soon as I start the ult, boom.
That's very unfortunate.
I didn't even see.
Oh yeah, that's so tragic. Fine though, it's fine. Okay, then I think you guys just like end the game, right? Not much else to it.
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
Oh, they FF. Alright, so let's look at some notes for this game. So we got... So in the early game... Oops. Why can I spell? Early game, big things, so like defensive laning techniques. So this is like getting as much CS as possible while taking...
Dude, wait, I got a notepad with all the notes already.
Oh, really? Wait, so you don't need me to write anything?
If you want, I can go over what I got, and then if there's some stuff you want to add.
I'll just write stuff and copy it to you, and then you can choose to add it or not. So I think, like, you know, so like keeping wave close to you, like not wasting cooldowns. You know, trying, what's the word? Like, yeah, trying not to push the wave away from you is like all really important early. So like, yeah, all this stuff, like if you keep your CDs, it's quite hard for him to trade aggressively. You know, trying to keep your mana. Also, just like an early game goal is like hit lost chapter at 6 minutes or so. You know, so like you really, if you base, ideally you don't use your TP so that you can then base and TP and get lost chapter. But if you base and are like forced into using TP, then it's really, really bad. And then your early game warding. So if you're pushed in all the time, generally you won't have many opportunities to ward. You know, like if you're under your tower, like 1, you're not really gankable, but 2, like you can't really drop wards anyway. But once you start actually getting prior, so like, yeah, once you start getting prior, try ward like further out, like provide some value for your team. So either like wards in the river, you know, like places like here, or like on jungle camps or stuff like that. That can all be very, very valuable. And then also like the hugging thing, right? Like hugging towards like vision / safety probably saves you like a couple. I think like this combined with the like wave control, keeping the wave close to you, probably would have saved you a couple deaths. And then also you should be very careful pushing to enemy tower with no vision, right? Like that's really scary. One thing that I do that could be like a good habit for you to build if you kind of want to is I actually use like the waves as a trigger to kind of remind me. So whenever the new waves come, so like every 30 seconds when these 2 new waves come, I just take it as a quick like trigger to like look at the map and just like see where the vision is, you know, like so every 30 seconds the 2 new waves come. What the fuck am I saying? The 2 new waves come. and then I quickly just like glance at the minimap, and I'm like, okay, I have vision or I don't have vision, and then I like choose where I'm gonna stand and stuff like that. So it's like it's hard to remember it in game in my
Gotcha.
opinion
That's
if
a
you don't
really
have
good
like a
idea.
trigger. But yeah, it's like
Yeah,
really easy to build a trigger around the creeps because the creeps are something that always happen, right? Like every 30 seconds. So
that's
like
awesome way of explaining it.
build a trigger around
Is that
creep.
some pro play stuff?
Actually, it's just like something I sort of made up, but like the
That's
reason
awesome,
I
man.
did it is because like in StarCraft, for example, which is what I played a lot before League, there was a lot of stuff like that. So there'd be like audio cues that would remind you to do stuff, or there would be, there'd be like kind of like timers in the game. Like for example, wait, have you played StarCraft at all? I assume not, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
you
was
have. Okay. So like
I got into
in
diamond.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay, yeah. So like in certain matchups, like at 4 minutes, that might be when you drop like your spores versus Protoss, for example. So there was like specific timers. But one thing in League is that there's nothing really like that. The game is very like dynamic. There are the only like specific timers I can really think of are that Herald spawns at like 8 minutes and then like plates fall off at 14 minutes. But other than that, it's like the time you get your first item is very dependent. The rate at which junglers clear can change a lot. I guess there's like some stuff like normally dropping a ward around like 2 minutes 30 is good, right? But for the most part, because it's so dynamic, you need to make some sort of trigger for yourself that isn't just like a specific time in the game. And so I found this to be really, really useful.
yeah, that's extremely helpful. I'm gonna do that now. So you're evaluating the vision that you have, where I should be placing wards, where the enemy people are, where my team's at, and how I should position myself in this lane based
Yeah.
off of what.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
when you put it like that, it's like a lot of shit to remember, right? But pretty much what I
Yeah,
do is like when the two waves come, I just like look, I sort of like look at the map and just like, it's almost like a snapshot, I just like
right,
look,
right.
it's like, okay, like who do I see and where is the vision and like where am I gonna stand? So if it's like, say these, let's just go to a random time. Let's go to 5 minutes 30. So, okay, the new waves have arrived. Pause. It's like, okay, my jungler is bot side. I have no vision, top or bot, and I have no idea where the jungler is. So it's like right now, I'm thinking, okay, because my jungler is bot, I can safely place towards bot side. But I do need a ward somewhere, right? So you push this in, you should like probably hug towards your jungler, so be standing in this area. And then after you shove this in, go drop some wards, like you've got Hecarim right behind you. And then you're completely fine. So then, okay, new wave's arriving, snapshot again. It's like, okay, now my Hecarim's on Krug, so he's really far away. He can't help me anymore, and I still have no vision. So it's like, now I'd be
Right,
fucking shitting my pants. It's like I'm really
right, right.
scared in this situation. So yeah, and
That's
I think
awesome.
like you
Yeah,
would notice this, right? Like if you actually thought about it, you could probably see
yep.
this, but it's like it's actually remembering to do it when all the other shit's going on. It is hard, like don't get me wrong,
No, no, I'm
but
not gonna. I'm gonna do that every time now, man. The way you
okay,
put it, it's
good.
like you're running a script when the waves show up, and you're making the best decision that you can based off of what you can see.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So yeah, that was like all the early game stuff. I think there was. Let's skim through it. Was there other stuff for the early game? Yeah, that death was from hugging, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, the warding could have been a lot better. There was also, um, oh yeah, this.
Indecisive here, yeah.
I'm
I
trying
got
to.
greedy. The way you describe, I was indecisive, then I got greedy on my pathing.
I'm
But the
trying.
way he was hunched over, he might have punished me both times.
Yeah. Hmm.
He's just waiting for this, man.
Yeah, he actually doesn't give a fuck about the mid wave. Well, this is very alpha from him. I actually think, okay, one other thing I think you kind of have a bad habit of is like over pushing this tower. So there's a like hitting. So okay, like when you get prior, there's like a lot of stuff you can do, right? So like when you get control of the midwave, it's like you can ward, you can take camps, you can base, you can hit the tower, like you can pressure drag. Like whenever you push, you have a ton of options, right? And generally, like hitting the tower is normally the lowest pressure one. It should be the one at like the bottom of the hierarchy. Like if there's something better that you can do with your priority, you should look to do it. But if there is nothing better, then you come and hit the tower, right? But it feels like a lot of these times, like you push and like, before you pushed like and you had wards and you didn't use them here, it's like your team is fighting dragon and you're still hitting the tower. So there's like better things that you can use your control for. And you need to like try identify before pushing the wave, ideally, what you're going to do with your priorities. So, like when you're pushing this here, you can, or even at this point, right? Like you have prior, you should decide now what you want to do, because any decision that you make when the wave is already hitting the tower is almost too late, you know? Like if you make a decision now, it's really easy for you to commit hard to it. But if you're like hesitant and you're like, okay, I'm not sure if I should come to this, you know, see how you're doing this? Like you're not really sure, should I come to this? Should I hit this tower? If you try and like make the decision when the wave dies or when it's pushing in, admittedly a bit harder here because you're kind of having a fight at the same time. But in general, if you can make the decision before the wave crashes, it'll lead to just whatever you do being quite a bit more efficient. And I think here, yeah, like just go to the fight probably is better than hitting the tower. It was all that. I guess I'll write that down. Like prior.
So before you have complete priority, you're kind of already thinking, what's my next steps based
Yeah,
on
kind
my
of. Like
gold, nav,
normally I
vision,
have some idea of like what I want to use my prior for when I'm getting it, and that's actually pretty important because like it's not as much a thing on Malzahar because like okay, if you're playing a champion that's more lane dominant, like let's say you're playing like oops, did not mean to hit the mic. Let's say you're playing Lucian or something, right? When you push a wave to your opponent, they actually get to farm it for free under tower. Like if we actually look from this from Akshan's point of view, every time he pushes this wave to you in the early game, like you can just farm it for free. So them pushing the wave, it has to actually get them something. Otherwise it's like a waste. It's like a waste pretty much, you know? So for for you, that's not as important because it's like, can you really deny your opponent's creeps? Like, not really. So there's never really going to be a time where you're like, okay, I actually just probably shouldn't push. I guess the only time would be if you felt you were really gankable. But for the most part, Malzahar is just like a spam pusher, right? Like, there's not too much nuance to it. But yeah, like when you're pushing this wave, you should already have some idea of what you want to use this wave for. So if I'm pushing this right now, it's like I see Kindred and I have 2 wards. This could be really aggressive wards here. You know, you could quickly ward over this wall. In fact, you could probably do both. You could probably get this plate and ward over this wall, you know? So it's like you can do more than one thing, but you should have some sort of idea of what you're going to do kind of before you do it. So prior usage, like planning ahead. And then things probably like in order of value, I would say like of using your prior, I guess it's like moving. Can I even make a full list? I guess it's like moving, like to with your team, like warding, like basing if you really need to, or like hitting tower. It's something like this, or there's even like a farming camps in here somewhere, like farming camps. I don't know. This is, I wouldn't even say this is like a hard order, right? Like I wouldn't checklist it in your head like this, but just realize that hitting tower, it's normally the least impactful thing you can do. That now, but there will be times where you should hit the tower, right? But if you can ever get more from doing something else, then you should. So yeah, I think that was mainly the early game. Then the mid game, don't think there was too much. Just skim through it. Yeah, that was all good. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. This was all good as well. Yeah, pushing here was fine. Oh yeah, I think here, so again, this was like sort of prior usage again. But like when you saw Kindred bot here, I think like you could take the Raptors, right? So I guess like look to take enemy camps, such your camps, like a lot more in mid game. Like in mid game, you can actually farm camps really quick as Malzahar. So you know if you want to do something like farm this, you know, like push one wave, farm this, push another wave, farm this, you get like, you know, something like 500 gold in a minute. It would be a lot of gold. You know, you'd be accelerating yourself insanely hard. And also it's like, you know, you would be denying this from Kindred, and 2, like Hecarim's not farming this, so it would be really efficient for your team as well.
How much gold are the Raptors anyway?
About 100. I don't actually know exactly, but it is about 100 gold. This was all good. Push this in. Oh yeah, so you should be very careful of overstaying. So, oops. So like after making a play, like generally look to base because you guys should be sort of low on resources. And you should have a lot of gold. Again, like if you can take camps on the way out, that's really good. But here you guys kind of just overstayed. I think if you like backpinged your team a bit, if you had just like base TP'd even, like maybe this would be a lot more winnable. Because like, you know, if you've spent an extra 1,000 gold and you're like full HP, full mana, maybe the fight's not winnable, but it would be quite a bit closer. And I think you actually played that the Baron fight pretty damn well, honestly. That was all good. You guys should have done Baron here. Actually, to be honest, one thing in general, I think you should like take a bit more control of your team. So at the moment, it feels like you're a bit of a follower, maybe, but it doesn't mean you have to like literally like macro them and spam ping like every objective and tell them exactly what to do. But you should have like some idea of like what you as a team want to do. And if you can like suggest that either by like pinging the Baron or just like dropping one assist ping on it, or you know back pinging after you make the play, like it actually does go a long way. You don't have to be like a 1v9 macro machine, but you also don't need to just let your teammates fend for themselves, right? Like you can make a difference if you communicate just little things like that. You don't have to even type, but just like a couple pings actually do go a long way sometimes. This was good, taking that. Oh yeah, here, so this is, again, like another macro thing you need to think about. So, in mid-game, consider like your team slash enemy team positions a lot. Because like in mid-game, again, it's very like free-flowing, right? Like people can be pretty much wherever on the map, you know, and it's very dynamic. Things can change very quickly. So like looking at this, it's like you're contesting the river very aggressively while 3 of your teammates are not in a position to pressure. So it's very, very risky. And then skim through this. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay, here I actually kind of, you know, I'm starting to agree with you more. Like maybe it is just good to let Hecarim solo this, but then I think you should have been looking to take this blue or to take like Raptors and Krugs, you know, like I think there's probably more you could have gotten. And I think that was basically it, right? The rest of the game was pretty much just a bunch of memery. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll add this to your note collection.
Okay.
Is there anything you have like questions about on the
No, that was awesome, man.
All right, sweet. Well, I'm glad it was helpful. I'll upload the session like to YouTube. It can stay private if you prefer, or it can go public. Up to you, really. And then you can like go back and watch it that way if you have any like questions later on.
Okay.
But yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah, what I would say is just like work on, you know, like a bunch of this stuff, and then when you feel like you're not sure what to work on or you're having like trouble working on something, just book another session, because like now you have like the 4 session like pack thing, right?
Yeah.
I think the way it works on Fiverr is like it expires after 30 days, but I can keep extending it by 30 days, you know? So like if you want to do it every week, that's fine, or if you want to do it like every 3 months, that's fine as well. Just like, you know, kind of let me know when, and I'll just like, you know, I'll just keep extending it as long as it takes. So it doesn't really bother me, but just like keep in mind that it will come through as like, you know, Shock is requesting to extend the order or something like that. But yeah, don't worry about that.
No worries, man. Yeah, can't we do milestones and release it in like tranches for you? That way you're not it's not sitting in trust.
No, but I don't really I don't really care, so
Okay.
it doesn't really matter to me.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I'm gonna definitely incorporate these things. I think probably a week we could do the other one. I would definitely like to maybe do a live one too.
Okay, yeah, that can
Get
work.
get the thought process in game kind of scenario.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
that could be useful.
I have tons of insight already just from that, so awesome, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, cool, man. Well, it's nice to meet you, and nice
Likewise.
talking to you.
Yeah, you too, brother.
All right, good luck,
Thanks
man.
again, man. Take care.
See ya.